Welcome, Kim. We are here, but we won't go officially live for another few minutes, but I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, that's lovely. I've just kind of just gone online to make sure that I'm not late.
No, that same as me. That's why I'm already on.
Okay.
But yes, a few more minutes and then we'll start. But lovely to see you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, be good. Interesting.
Hello, can everyone see me? Can everyone hear me? Thank you very much for nodding. My name is Natasha Lord. And we're already having difficulties with the tech. There we go. And I'm a clinical psychologist with Hereford and Worcestershire Health and Care Trust, and I work in our older adult mental health service. This is the first time we've tried it from home. You can hear the nerves. It may be slightly different. So bear with us if we have any hiccups. Sheena, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Sheena Payne. I'm the Historic Environment Record Officer at Worcester City Council.
Thanks, Sheen. This is just a quick announcement. The workshop is actually streaming live now on Facebook and on YouTube. Therefore, we just ask not to share anything personal, as we can't guarantee who will hear that information, and it's about the workshop. So that's just a disclaimer really to ensure safety. So a little bit about the Life Stories project. This is a joint collaboration between ourselves, the Health and Care Trust, and the Worcester City Council. It's a 2-year funded project, actually been many years in the making. And one day when we have more time, it would be great to tell everyone that story. We started in the summer of last year. There will be 2 platforms, Know Your Place Worcester, which Sheena will briefly talk about in a moment, and then the Life Stories Worcestershire platform, which I'm hoping everyone is here today and that you're not on the wrong WebEx. We oh, sorry, was that an agreement? Yes, you are on the right WebEx.
That's I am here, Tash. Hello, Reese.
Oh, thank you, Reese. I had a slight worry there because I have done training before where someone's gone, we've been about halfway through and then someone's put their hand up and said, I'm really sorry, but I don't think this is meant for me. So I thought that's what you were saying there. So sorry, everybody. No, we're 2 platforms, Know Your Place Worcester, and then our Life Stories Worcestershire platform that today's workshop is about. And then most importantly, and being led by Sheena, you'll later on next year, or later this year, sorry, Sheen, still not quite in 2021 yet, we have our museum exhibition, 3D Time Travel Tale, and our book. Sheen, do you just want to talk a little bit about Know Your Place Worcester?
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, I won't take up too much time on the Know Your Place Worcester platform for today because the focus is the Life Stories Worcestershire platform. But just to say that it is on its way. As you may have already seen, there are some save the dates going out at the moment for the launch of the 2 platforms at the end of April. And Know Your Place Worcester is the second of those. We're really excited to be collaborating with this platform. It's a bit like a Google, you can see, and it will be our opportunity for the first time to get the collections of the Worcester City Historic Environment Record online for the first time, including our conservation photographic collection. We've got around 35,000 historic photos that are going to be gradually making their way online, and our amazing volunteers, a couple of them here today, are working on those with the Changing Face of Worcester project. So indexing those so that they will be not only geographically searchable, but thematically as well. So a number of resources going on online via that platform. So the photographs and historic maps, as well as archaeological data as well. And most importantly about the platform, there will be a community layer which will enable local to share their own information and knowledge via the platform, so including their own photographs, memories, information that they might have as experts in the place. So some really exciting things to come there. That will feed into the life story books and give people some content to draw on for that. So I'll pass back to you now, Tash.
Thanks, Sheena. So a little bit more in terms of the Life Story Worcestershire platform. I'm really pleased. So as you're aware, the Worcester Life Stories project is slightly wider with the Know Your Place Worcester and the arts and creative bit in terms of the exhibition. The Health and Care Trust, in collaboration with First One, funded and are hosting the Life Stories platform. And it will have three main uses. So the first one will be that people can create their own life story book, which I think will be amazing. It will be private and personal to you. I'm looking at Reese there thinking, I won't say too much because you'll be repeating me. But I think what's fabulous about this is, and I've been having many conversations recently with people, is this will span from, I want a space just to be able to put my family history that I was saying that I know somebody who wanted to find out about her own life, had pulled it together into a book and then had printed it off for her family. So she printed off 50 copies and put that out so that everyone was aware of kind of what had happened in their family, through to that we know life stories can be used as a therapeutic tool. So perhaps if somebody's living with dementia, they may not be able to let people know what's important to them, what differences, what routines, who matters. It can be used in that way. We know for children that perhaps are in the looked after care system, that having an opportunity to talk about your life story can give a sense of identity and being able to come together. I'm an older adult, a passionate person, obviously working within mental health service for older people. And we know that sometimes looking back over your life can give an opportunity to say, not only things that have been really positive, but things that I've overcome and what can I take forward. So life story work can make so much difference across the lifespan and for a number of people. And I think one of the reasons that this project for me is just so exciting is that we've had this previously on pen and paper, but this will be the first time that people will be able to do it together and share it in a particular way. I won't talk any more on that, Reese, because I know that you're going to talk through what it will actually look like.
Absolutely.
The other bit, I guess, and in terms of sharing that book, one of the reasons when Sheena and I were first talking about this project, and one of the things that was also important to me, is I used to work on our inpatient wards. And when I worked in the Black Country, we used to have somebody that would come and talk about the place of Wolverhampton. And for me, and what I noticed is that people could come together, and it wasn't necessarily in terms of talking about difficulties. People could come, hear facts, hear memories, but also share and collaborate and have that sense of purpose and achievement. And one of my hopes really from this project is, so we'll have the life story book, but there will also be life packs where people can come together and have that sense of well-being. And we were talking about this earlier, Sheena and I, with the Worcestershire archives, about the many different things that may be sort of possible from Know Your Place, Worcester, the Worcestershire archives. I know that Herefordshire now with joining, and some of those things may be around places of employment. Lisa, who I don't think is on the call yet, had really wanted something around nature. Glenn, I can't see you right now, Glenn, but you've been instrumental in terms of helping us think about sporting memories. So there's going to be a number of different themes where, say, if you're someone like me and you're working on a ward, you can download that pack, and that will be readily available for you in terms of it will have images, written memories, perhaps audio or video that you can then do by yourself or with a family, or it may be sort of within a care home or a ward. So it will have many different sort of uses. And then finally, and I can't see everyone on my screens here, is we know it's not always easy to get online. That can be for a number of different reasons. And part of this project will be supporting people. So I don't know if Paul and John are on, but our stakeholders, people that actually supported Sheena and I to do this project, are going to enable us to do, thank you, Glenn, are going to help support people to be able to to be able to use both of the platforms and be able to take that forward. So those are just some of the things that are coming. Now, I'm not sure, and this is the thing when with being online, if Shirley's here, but as part of this project, we're also having our workshops evaluated. Catherine, who is on and always stays quiet, will post the link in the chat. We wanted to do this platform with people to make sure that it met people's needs. And the only way that we know that we've done that is if people would respond to that survey and say, yes, you listened, or no, you didn't, or Tash, you talked too fast, or whatever it is. Please let us know so that we can continue to try and build on. Well, in fact, this is the last of this workshop, but for me, that's valuable feedback all the way through, that we can think, what can we do differently? Okay. As well as that, we know a number of things really in terms of what can improve our well-being. There is less research out there in terms of our sense of identity with, thank you very much, Catherine, I knew you'd be on it. The survey monkey's in the chat for anyone that would like to complete that for us. We have less knowledge or understanding about the sense of our home, where we live, has on our well-being and how we sort of connect with that. We know it sort of anecdotally. Some of you may have been following Sheena's brilliant quizzes that are on social media, and we can see that sort of interaction. But as part of this project, the Association of Dementia Studies will be looking into that, and they'll be asking certain people just in terms of how much did they connect with it, what difference did it make. So look out for that, because there'll be more information coming over the next few months. So before I hand over to the brilliant first one, can I just do a plug for the Save the Date? So on the 23rd of April, we are going to hold an event online over 2 hours. That's going to be an opportunity to see Know Your Place Worcester for the first time, and a fully finished, no pressure there, Reese, Life Stories Worcestershire platform, where we're going to showcase it and just have a chance to sort of come together and for people to ask perhaps a few questions if they would like to at the end of that. So that will be on the 23rd of April, 2 o'clock. And what will happen is an invitation will come out to you. It will be an Eventbrite, and then you'll be able to sign up. And we very much look forward to seeing you there. So I'm going to now be quiet. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to the ones that developed it. So thank you very much. Chris and Reese, I can see there. Who am I handing over to?
That'll be me, yeah. Hello, everyone. Those that have been following these workshops, hello again. Good to have you back. And for new people that have joined for the first time, welcome. I am one of the senior designers and front-end developers at VerseOne, the implementation partner for this project. If I just have a go at sharing my screen, see if the technology works. I'm going to talk you through, do a little recap about what we've been doing over the last couple of months, and then talk to you a little bit about what we have to show you, and then do a bit of a demo to run everyone through it. This is this something like the fourth workshop, third or fourth workshop?
Fourth workshop.
Fourth workshop. Great, thank you. The first few we were information gathering and creating wireframes for this Life Stories platform, and then we took feedback on board from those wireframes, and then went about doing some design work for it to overlay a more visual skin on top of the wireframes. And now we're at a point where we have started the development to bring this concept to life. The development side of this falls into two phases. Hopefully you can see on my screen I've got the Worcester Life Stories Phase 1 and Worcester Life Stories Phase 2. Phase 1 is what I'll be running through today and demoing off. Phase 1, we started creating the platform, the Life Stories platform. We created the core functionality. These are the the really core abilities that people can function, that people can fulfill within the book. The most important one being able to register for the book to actually get access to it. But then things like adding content, text, images, and videos, editing it, creating new pages within the book, editing existing pages. All those are key functions that you need to be able to fulfill. A couple of weeks ago, we were at a stage where we could open it out to a small selection of user testers to kind of get hands-on with the skeleton structure for the first time. Thank you to those testers. There's no doubt probably a few in the room. And we collated and addressed that feedback early enough so that it can influence phase 2. Coming up in phase 2, that will be delivered at the end of this month, end of March, in preparation for the April event. But the phase 2, so things that aren't in this one today, but they are in progress. They're in the back end, but it's like a house. You build the extension, but the things aren't wired up yet and the doors aren't fitted, so it's not quite prepped to show yet. But in the phase 2, we have the creating of multiple books. So one user can have several books. They can share those books between other users. You can have multiple authors contributing and collaborating on the same book. And we have a slightly better guided welcome and guided instructions on how to use the book as well. And we've added in audio function, and we are refining the design of the interface. And one thing I forgot to add in there, enabling the exporting to PDF as well. So that's all coming out at the end of March. I'll pull up the current. So this is the hopefully you can also still see the screen there. This is the current phase 1 demo. I'm going to run through it from pretty much from start to finish. So the setting up of it, registering to access, and then we're going to go ahead and add some content, add a page, and kind of tweak some of the settings there. So the author would land on this website, on this URL, and they'd be asked to input a email. I'm just going to put gmail.com. I'll have a password. This just for the phase 1 demo, the MVP is the registration setup is very very basic, and in the phase 2 it is more rounded. Something like that. Oh, I go to register again. So I knew I was missing something. And just hit next. I'll set that up with just throwing the same thing there. And now this is a little bit of the gatekeeping element where for an author to be signed up and link up their book with the Worcester Life Stories side of thing, they need a registration code. So we have here Worcester Life Stories NHS. just for the time being. We're register that. So we've signed up, a book has been created, and we have been taken to the front page of our digital scrapbook. This is effectively the front cover, and to navigate around the book, you can use the next and previous buttons. The book has been pre-populated with, as you can see down the side, four pre-populated chapters. We can open up the side navigation just by clicking or tapping on it. I'll explain why I've done this portrait shape of screen. The main use case that we envisage is users on tablets, and the main interaction there is touch interactions. So the ability to just see something on the screen and just tap to interact with it, we feel that's really powerful. So to navigate around the book, you can open up the side navigation, and you can navigate through the pre-populated pages, just so that the author isn't presented with an absolute blank canvas, which can be quite intimidating. So if we want to edit your book, go up to the little edit button, and it shows you the same layout of page, so it's not jarring, it doesn't take you away from the experience. But the areas which you can edit now have this kind of grey shadow around them, and we just tap into that editable area, and we can change any of the content in there. So because this is the front page, I will call this Thomas, because it's all about me. I can upload. So there, I just tapped on this upload, add content icon to bring up this media picker panel. This again is a simple version for the phase 1, and in phase 2 it does look significantly nicer. And we are going to upload a photo of myself on the front cover here. There we go. So that's just added from my computer, so you know access to everything that's stored on your device, and add that to page. And so that's dropped me in there. I'll add a caption there, something like, which Latin for actions, that words. So I'm pretty happy with that. Just editing that front cover. I'll save that. And then, as simple as that, that has started to populate elements of the book, started to add media, and started to bring some character to it. If I go to the next page, so you can see how the process would be to navigate to a page, edit the page, add or edit any of the content you want, and then save, and then kind of it's that iterative building up of your own story. So for childhood, let's have a look. I'm fairly happy with the title, My Childhood, but I think we can add a better image in there. So we're going to add something from the internet. I have, like any fine Blue Peter, pre-prepared. Here's one I prepared earlier. I have this this image from Wikipedia Commons. So it's just a little shot of Worcester skyline. So we can take this link, this URL, copy it, and then drop it into this box. And what this is going to do is pull in that image into your book. So you can see a little preview of it there. And I'll do add to page, and it drops it in there. We can add a little caption, Worcester from the sky. There you go. So we've added an image from the internet without needing to kind of save it down or do anything too complicated with it. And we'll save that. and that's edited there. If we go to something like, let's go to jobs, you see also on the side navigation here, there's a highlighter or highlighted section to show you what chapter you're in. So the next, I think we should add a new page. You could imagine if you've edited the pre-populated pages and now you want to start adding things like holidays or other relatives, or kind of go into more depth about your pets, you know, that sort of thing. So if we do add new page, which is in the top corner here, it comes up with the same set of editable content, and this time we can throw in something like Worcester in color. It could be photos or videos of Worcester in bloom, or as I have in mind currently, again pre-prepared, I found a video on YouTube of a video that's all about the city of Worcester, and it's in color. So if I again grab this link, I can drop it into this box, and it pulls through a little preview of the video that we can then go ahead and add that video to the page. So you can imagine coming across kind of live band performances from festivals back in the 60s, and you can find loads of these video resources on YouTube or Vimeo, or kind of any most web-based resources can be dropped in there. So we can say hello video. I'll just put something simple in there. One of the additional optional features now, because we're in edit mode, we can go up to the little options button in the top corner, and because coming out of the research and the discussions that I've had with Tash and throughout the other workshops, kind of seasons and what flowers were in bloom at the time can jog memories as well. So so we have this time of year section, and the thinking here is that it can style the page in a slightly different way. It can bring in slightly different colors or imagery to help really promote those memories. So currently it's fairly rudimentary, but again, it will be more expanded in phase 2. But if we select, for example, spring, it just kind of brings in a slightly different shade in the top and bottom bars. This can be expanded to fulfill the whole page kind of in the future. So we continue to edit more text. You want me to add in, spend 5 minutes writing my own life story. So we'll just hit save on that. So just in the course of a couple of minutes, if we navigate back through the book, we have the cover page, which is now completely personalized. We've started adding in images, and again, we can go back in and edit these at any point. We can get access to the media picker, and if you choose the option to pick from your media library, it brings up a list of media, that's images and videos that I've already used in your book, which means that you can once something is changed or edited or removed, it's not gone forever, which is key as well. So if you find an image you like on the internet, you insert it, but a bit later on down the line, you're less keen on it, you can remove it from the page. But if you want to add it in again at a later date, it's still stored in your media library. So nothing's gone for good. So we we could drop that video in, we could use it, we could see what it makes of adding my face in again. Yeah, so that's still there. We'll stick with what we have at the moment. So hopefully you can see how with the main interactions being mostly clicks and mostly taps, and building up content can be hopefully fairly straightforward. That kind of rounds off the key elements there. It's probably just worth pointing out that these pre-created pages aren't they aren't permanent. They aren't there for good. You can go into edit options and you can delete pages. So if you did want to start completely from scratch, you can remove everything, and then you do have a blank canvas, which could be useful because you can have several books. If you wanted to set up one that was specifically about Worcester FC, for example, you start with a clean slate and then only add Worcester FC specific content. We have the option then, when you're done adding content or editing for that session, you can log out, and everything is safe and secure, and yeah, and no one can access it. I think that is the key workflows and most of what we have for the demo. I will open the floor to questions and comments.
Thanks, Rhys. Do you want to stop sharing so that we can see people as we...
Yeah. It is that button there. There we go.
You already have one question. It's coming up from Greg. If we can start there, everyone, if that's all right. He's put it in the chat box. So if people aren't able to talk or would prefer not to, you can type into the chat and I'll just speak them aloud so that Rhys knows that they're there. So Greg, oh, there you are, Greg. Couldn't see you. You've put, looks good. Can you add video from device, as the option only stated photo from device?
I believe for this demo, it's photos from the device currently, and videos from external sources. I think we have one or two of the developers from verse 1 on the line. If that's incorrect, they can jump in and correct me. But yeah, just images from your device currently.
Is the plan, and sorry, I can see Mark, is the plan going forward that it'd be videos from your device as well? Sorry.
Yes, that's right. So we will, in phase 2, one of the additional features is adding videos from your device as well as the photos.
Great. There you go, Greg. A bit of patience, and we'll have that rolled out.
Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Sarah? I'll hand over to Rhys because he'll be the one answering it.
Hello. So this is really exciting. I work with adults who have a learning disability, and am super excited to see something that is so accessible. And so I suppose one of my questions is just about accessing. Going to be freely available, and those access codes, where do they come from? And then, you know, I presume there hasn't been any work to date with people with a learning disability, but would you be open to looking at that maybe in the future? Sort of specifically looking into how they interact with that and what works and what could be made more accessible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be super important to get this in different user test groups to see how people interact with it, whether there's glaringly obvious things that we've missed and are fairly quick simple tweaks that make the experience so much better. Yeah, I think part of the phase 2 testing, I would love to get it in front of more varied end users as we possibly can.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, what would be great is I'd be more than happy to talk to Sarah offline to talk specifically about people with learning difficulties, to see what your requirements are, so that we can build them into. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it looks amazing already, and I suspect for a lot of people with learning disabilities, they're going to do it probably with a key worker or a family member or someone anyway. The only thing that I've noticed that could be added to make it even more accessible would be kind of easy read symbols and those sort of things, which presumably would be quite a significant change, and I don't think would be essential, but I think would be something that potentially could be really useful. But yes, please do contact me.
I will do. Thank you.
So what I'll do there, because Sarah, you work at, I believe, in the service within the trust. Have I remembered that right? Yeah. So we can, and Sue is the, oh, am I going to have this right? Chief Operating Officer for Phase 1. Is that right, Sue?
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. So just in terms of people knowing about what we're talking about, and I think you're right. There is a recognition that your first question was, is this going to be freely available? It's going to be freely available to all residents of Herefordshire and Worcestershire. And Chris and Sue might answer this slightly better than myself, but there will be a far easier, it won't be, Chris, correct me now if I get this wrong, the way that the person will be able to log to register is by their GP surgery.
That's right, yeah. So that's, we found, having to talk to the trust, that's probably the best way of doing it. But we are working on a number of different models, from a sort of over like a pure commercial model, but also models that we work with other trusts or organisations such as care homes that wouldn't normally fall under that as well. In terms of like easy read symbols and stuff, which are really cool. It's one of those things I think which we would want to work with you, and it would be an option that you could switch on. I think, because as you say, it's not necessarily essential for everyone, but then we can put it in for people who require that. And a lot of the stuff that we can do, we can do with styling and doing with certain variations that we can just we can have as switches. So we're looking at doing various different contrasts as well, with switches for people with particular difficulties with vision. And of course, it's all built in web technologies, so people with screen readers should be able to read it as well, through which we'll be adding sort of what's called ARIA tags and that kind of thing to allow screen readers to access as well. So we the first one's been a sort of accessibility champion for, well, certainly the 13 years I've worked with the company, and we do bear these things in mind through everything we do. So, but we're really excited to work directly with people we're working with, children or people with disabilities, so that we can actually make it as usable as possible for all audiences.
I can't quite put into words how excited I am about this. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Great.
No, that is brilliant, and I think. Yeah, all people will be registered with a GP surgery, so that should work. And spread the word, Sarah. I think that's the thing that we're trying to say, because at the moment it's just well, as I said in the opening presentation, we know it makes a difference across all sorts of different needs and across the lifespan. So the wider we can open it for Worcestershire and Herefordshire, now that we've combined, would be great. I'm looking at you as well, Paul, because you'd already been there with your links for Herefordshire, so that they know. Has anybody else got a question that they want to ask, or feedback even, in terms of, as Sarah was saying, for people with Ben?
Is that me, Tash?
It is you, yeah.
Yeah. I had to go at the pilot project. I know it was rushed, and I was trying to put I think I put a photograph in to an album, and then I thought, oh, that's your own photograph, and I tried to delete it. So I hit edit, delete, and it seemed to still be there. And I was trying to compare the platform to like a virtual book that you did with Jet or something, where you put, and then you can check it, save it. Oh, I don't like that. I can resize it, etc. But I was unable to delete this photograph that I put in. Was that just me, or at the moment that's where we're up to? And you know, because I can just imagine somebody clicking on not their best side. You know, oh crumbs, I'd like to show this one. I've made a mistake and I don't want to share it. Oh, it's too late. It's gone, and then we get a bit of not bad press. But you know what I'm saying? Is that me or is that the software?
Yeah. Chris is going to answer that.
Oh, right, okay. I was going to say it's odd when we do software. Deletion is always the last thing we think about.
Yeah.
But I believe that's in the spec, and it's obviously something we'll check. But we also it's one of the things we tend to get as software developers a lot is we put in a delete, and then people say, "Oh, well, I've deleted it. Can I get it back, please?"
Yeah, no, exactly.
So it's trying to make sure we can delete it and make sure people aren't deleting it accidentally.
Okay. So,
but it's certainly one of the things we review. But it tends to be something we look at later.
That's fine. I was just one of those. I was following it through. I thought, oh no, you know, because I was putting myself in the shoes of somebody else who maybe put a photograph they didn't want to. You know, it's only photographed my daughter, so it's nothing too worried.
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to raise, Lynn. You know, there's no such thing as a wrong question here or wrong bit of feedback.
Sure. And then the other thing I felt was, and it was great that we've got the option to put videos in. I think at this stage, you know, to give people a bit of clarity, if we had, for example, a 5-minute VLC clip, would that be able to be uploaded? You know, because if we don't put a line on it, people will be putting 40 and 50-minute videos in. Have you got a guideline on an acceptable, you know, video on a Sunday school trip from 5 years ago or something? What do you think?
I don't know if my more technical colleagues have looked into this, but we've that is one of the challenges we're looking at, and that's why, broadly speaking, at the moment we're using videos from you know, third parties, you know, to stream.
Sure.
You know, let Google take the strain.
Yeah, no, fine.
So we will probably have to put some kind of cap on, and of course that cap, broadly speaking, from our point of view, depends on the size of the file.
Sure.
So it's still something we're kind of investigating to fine tune. You know, if it's like, you know, like one of the older iPhones, you know, 5 minutes might be fine. If it's one of the massive ones with, you know, resolution of 3 billion, it, you know, probably might get 30 seconds. So it's a very relevant question, and it's something we haven't quite worked out properly yet.
Okay.
And Glenn and Chris, can I just go back to, I guess, the bit that you were saying in terms of the delete option and just waiting on Greg. I think that was recognised within the feedback, Glenn, in terms of having that ability to delete or undo or be able to, it came up quite frequently. So you weren't alone there on that. I just wanted to recognise that as something that's needed.
And that's why the user testing is so valuable. Highlights trends and patterns where because we might be seeing things in isolation, and each little function getting that external mass pair of eyes on it really helps. So thank you for all the testers as well.
Yeah. I think so. Brian said, well, you know, put it into archive first. That's just at the moment. You know, if you remove your image from the page, it'd still be in your media. So if you want to recover it, you'd still do that. But we may have to do deletions from media store at that point as well.
Hi, it's James here. Confession time. There is a delete button on your media library. It's just we deliberately hid it for now.
See, always the last thing to do.
Put your hands up, James, for where that.
And forgive me wearing a hat. I didn't want to subject you all to my lockdown hair, so really inexplicable. Yeah, so we deliberately hid it because we needed to do, on the delete side, we actually needed to do some more reconciliation in the database to make sure that we're not deleting media that is actually in use somewhere. So we wanted to make sure that that work is done before we actually enable people to start deleting media out of their video library, their media library, and it will actually start taking it off pages. So, because they need to have a warning to say, this is being used, are you sure you want to delete it? And then they go, yes, and they go, are you definitely sure you want to delete it? So it's that kind of process is actually needed. So for the phase one, there just wasn't time to do that. So we just thought, well, it's better just to not allow them to trash their media.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly understandable, James, and thanks for coming back on that. That's great.
No, that really helps for someone like myself. So we've got a couple more questions that are coming up in the chat. Are people happy if I move to that have come from Greg? So Reese, I'm looking therefore at Mark and James, has put, with the chapters down the left-hand side, do you think it should say chapter 1, chapter 2 to be clearer? Also, could icons or images be added attached to each chapter, such as family or work? Before the developers answer, could I just throw that out to the wider team in terms of what, group of us that are here in terms of what they think, just as an idea? Is that all right, Greg? Thank you. What do other people think before they say yes or no? Is that something that people would think would be helpful? I might do it because there's so many of us. Put your hands up if it would be helpful that it says chapter 1 rather than CH1. Yeah, put your hands up if it's a yes. About half, I think. No, maybe more, not sure. No, actually, no, sorry. And then the second bit for that, I can't count. I need Catherine telling me in my ear how many people. The second bit is, would it help to have an image? So I guess this is for people that may, their ability to read the word may be more difficult. So therefore being able to put an image in and chapter or changing it, would that be? You're counting. Thank you, Catherine. Okay. So the majority of people, so actually being able to adjust that would also be really helpful in terms of, yeah. So sorry, James and Mark, to create but so now is that possible now that people have said they want it?
So, chapter stuff, you know, on the word chapter and that kind of thing. One of the things we're going to do is take that into CSS so that we can have chapter when the screen is large enough, but we can still abbreviate it if the screen is smaller, so that we can do it that way. So it's the word itself will be responsive.
Okay, Chris, what does CSS stand for?
Sorry, it's the styling language that we use. Cascading style sheets it stands for.
Thank you. And what about an image then? Is that something that is possible regardless of the size of the screen that it's on? Because I guess that would be a slightly different need.
Yeah, so one of the things that we didn't cover in the demo was that people can choose their own chapters and add chapters and remove chapters. The ones that we had in the demo is like a sample set of chapters, you know, family and so on. So, you know, adding a little icon to it might be okay for the sample chapters, but it might become quite difficult for a book that you've been editing and added, you know, 3 more chapters to, for example. So it's something we can look at.
Yeah, and were people asking for an icon, or actually that you could maybe put a small picture of your family or your wedding so it was actually personalised to you? But that's how I understood it, Mark. Is that possible?
We'd probably draw it, I think, from the
chapters.
We'll do that. The chapter, what's on the page of the chapter, I'd say, so that we'd have the chapter with, you know, a bit like this, on the home page, we'd just have a chapter image, which would then be shrunk and put into the menu. I think it's something we can look into, but I'm not going to commit to anything else. James will kill me.
No, commit now. It's being recorded. There's no going back then. They are, sorry, so from Jennifer, is there a plan to have more than one image on a page or a photo and a video? Brilliant question, Jennifer. I know that's come up in the testing phase too.
Yeah, I can jump in there on that one. We do have they're currently in the demo phase 1 demo. There is a gallery page type So under options, you can change it to gallery, which has 2 media elements on the page. So that is either 2 images or one image, 1 video, or 2 videos. In phase 2, we want to expand those page options. So you would have kind of a basic standard page. Then you might have more of a gallery-esque layout where there is multiple, probably 2 or 4, a multiple of 2. So there is more media that can be on the page. So yeah, currently phase 1, you can have 2 medias on the page, and in release there'll be a handful of other page layouts which will have additional media layout options as well. Yeah.
When you say that gallery layout, is that they would have to be together, or I could have a picture and some writing, a video and some writing, so that they would kind of, I was thinking about books that I've done with people as potentially.
There's the writing associated with, say, an image can be pulled in as the caption. So there would be the option to in say, for example, you've got a 2x2 grid of medias. Each media could have an associated caption. So you would have media and caption, and then media caption. The finalized page layouts are yet to be fully designed out. But that's something where that can grow and grow and grow over time, because there's no kind of fundamental changes to the product at that point. It's the additional layouts. So you can have a initial set and then see where it leads from there.
Again, so so fundamentally we'll do more layouts, but we wanted to do it as kind of structured layouts rather than kind of, again, a blank page. It's the same thing as adding some sample chapters. It gives people a framework to work within, but yeah, we'll be expanding that.
Is that something? I realise that's something that I was just suggesting. Is that this is the time the developers are here. When you think about the books that you'd be creating, is that something that you think, actually, yes, that's how I'd like it in terms of those slightly different options? So to be able to, so for example, I know when I've done books with people, we might have done a photo at the top of a school, say, and then we've had a photo of a class, and it's been like, this is my class, and then further down, this is me in my uniform. So it's all on one page with different the different bits. I don't know what other people were thinking in terms of maybe work that they're doing, or how you would compile your own life history.
Yeah, so the view that we took was really that if you just upload an image and more text, and if you wanted to add another image, you would just add another page below it. So this is my school, and then this was my classroom, and you see what I mean? So you would create a chapter about a thing, and then you would have lots of small pages. That's kind of the view we took, really, to keep it as simple as possible for the user. The gallery pages are in there. It's possible that we could add it so you could dynamically add, just say, I want a new piece of media on this page. I don't think we're going to have that in though by the end of March. Maybe we could get that in by go live, because it means changing the structure of the page. But the idea was to keep pages generally as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And people could just add an infinite number of pages, really. So that's the view we've actually taken. But we can, of course, responding to feedback, we can actually go, well, people actually do want to have a dynamic number of images on a page. It's just coming up with a paradigm that's easy for people to understand and follow. That's all. So we have been trying to keep the workflows as simple as possible. You see what I mean?
No, I do. Sorry, that's my cat.
You're allowed to have cats.
Yeah. I guess just in terms of a show of hands, if we were saying, oh, and John, yours is joining you too. If we were just to do a show of hands just to help the developers there and to make sure it's just, just going back to that bit, having several images on a page is what everybody would like, following Jennifer's question. Yeah, hands, yeah, everybody. So that helps, James, I think, just for you, that's you as well, you agree? Greg, I think I might have missed one of yours. I'll make sure that I go back just so that we don't, it looks like it's, so can you simply click the plus button to add an image without having to click edit? This might be easier.
Right, so the reason why, so the page goes into edit mode. The reason why the page goes into edit mode, particularly in the phase 2, so there are several reasons why you need to actually put the page into edit mode. First of all, a YouTube video may well be there, and of course you want to press play. So, so in read-only mode, you can actually click on the object itself and press play on the YouTube video, for example. The only way you have to put the page into edit mode, because what you're effectively doing as well is locking that book so that no one else who's contributing to it can actually edit it while you're editing it. Because in phase 2, we have to allow for the fact that multiple people will have access to the same book because of sharing. And so we have to do some locking to make sure that we don't have 2 people trying to edit the same book at the same time, because we don't want work to get lost or anything like that. So there is a definite transition between, let's say being in read mode and then being in to be in edit mode. But what we could do for images in particular is if you click on an image, just switch the book into edit mode automatically for you. So we can certainly look at that. So if you click on an image in a page, it actually assumes, oh, you want to go into edit mode. So that's something we can look at, definitely. Because if that's a workflow people have, then that's totally fine. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. A question that I've got on that, and this is just obviously a curious question, is could you have your edit button at the beginning of the book, so you either choose to be editing or reading as opposed to editing each page? Or is that not possible? Do they stand alone?
I think from past things you've asked, it's more about it's not about the beginning of the page, but that you can go into edit mode and stay in edit mode for a while until you elect not to be in edit mode anymore.
Say that again.
So what you've raised before is the idea that you go into edit mode and you stay in edit mode rather than having to click edit on each page until you decide you no longer want to be editing, and then you say, right, stop editing. So you can essentially go into edit mode, edit 5 or 6 pages, and then say, right, I'm finished, rather than having to click edit on each page. I think that's something you've raised before.
No, the thing that you're right, that I'm raising that one now. The thing that sorry everyone, so I was obviously part of the user testing. One of the things that I was saying for me is I like to save quite a lot as I go along because of the amount of times I've lost work. Please don't, I just do. And currently what the book does is you have to save and then you have to click to edit again, or at least that's what I did. And the feeling that I got from that was it was adding more clicks in than I wanted to do. I like to press Control and save and know that I'm saving without interrupting the flow of what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make total sense. And what you're saying is you would prefer it that you go into edit mode and you stay there until you explicitly say, I don't want to edit anymore, basically. Whereas right now, what it does is it puts you into edit mode, and then as soon as you navigate away from that page, it will take you out of edit mode. Yeah.
Yes. But at the moment, you have to edit by page, and I was wondering whether I may have just misunderstood this. So at the moment you edit by page and you have to keep clicking edit. I was wondering whether you could literally just then open the book and you're in edit. So both things really, if you can. Yeah. Yeah. So if that's not a good idea from a technology point of view.
Oh no! Oh, that is no problem at all. I mean, all we would need to do there is that when you click save, it keeps you in edit mode.
Yeah.
So and just keeps you there until you go out of edit mode. So that is something that we can certainly look at, and then we would change the button at the top so that it looks well. Yeah, so that if you click the edit button again, it takes you out of edit mode basically. I think that's totally reasonable change to make. Because as people are navigating through pages, and as you say, every time you save, you have to go into edit mode again. That's totally reasonable. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to do. We can do that.
Thanks, James. I hope some of the things I ask aren't unreasonable.
Yeah.
Totally unreasonable. Good God.
Not yet. You're doing well.
Thank you. Did that fit for everybody else? As that would be something that would be helpful, because this is the point of today's workshop, is making sure that would make life. It would be less buttons. I think that's what I find that I was saying to the easier it is. I was joking on one of the calls recently that a friend of mine, Ness, has introduced me to Pinterest, but I couldn't work it out straight away. And actually, I got quite frustrated, and then I thought, I'm just going to give this up. And we know that that's not uncommon. And then once you haven't, once that happens, you're less likely to go on. So this is that opportunity to say things that you think actually this will make it easier. So can I just do a quick show of hands that actually having a save and continue option sounds like a good idea? Yes, if it is, yeah. Okay, we've got one from John Whittle. How about when you add a picture, the option to crop and resize the image to what you add? Yeah. Is that over to you, James?
Yeah, that will be over to me, because we have been discussing this in the office for some time. At least the ability to when you put an image on a page and go into edit mode, you can actually either drag the image around or have some buttons just so you could put the main kind of the focus of the image into the center of the area, because it does kind of just give you the image centered, but the main focus of the image may be somewhere else. So that we have discussed in the office. We just are trying to come up with a way of coming to a solution that's good for people in the time we have left. That's all. But yeah, I've actually seen that, and I think there is a need for that as well. So we are discussing it, how we can do that in a simple way for people to do.
So
the question.
So great, thinking that would be something that potentially will be there for when we go live at the end of April.
Yes.
Yeah.
Potentially, if we can get a solution in by then. I mean, even if we don't get it done by then, what we will be looking to do is definitely have something in soon after that. Do you know what I mean? Because this will continue to be developed. So I think it's an important thing to actually have, yeah, which we just discovered really in our own testing. So yeah.
No,
well, there's a paradigm for, I think Facebook has it whereby you can use a slider to control the size of the image, and it shows things beyond the boundaries of the box itself, and then you can drag it around. And it just means you aren't trying to use horrible kind of drag handles and keep things in proportion and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, there are. You're right. I mean, there are a few paradigms out there. One issue, obviously, we have to always consider is what is the simplest thing to do. So yeah, we don't have the kind of Pinterest, I'm not going to use this anymore problem. Sorry
to Pinterest.
Yeah, lost Pinterest. So there's that thing, and it's also just what we can do within the time we actually have available, because of course we are quite close. So what we will have to end up doing is kind of progressive thing. So the absolute, what must people have, and then we can improve that later. But we are aware that bombarding them with all these different controls and options for an image, and particularly image resizing and all that, can be quite a complicated process. So it's trying to give them a useful tool that doesn't actually scare them off and is hard to use. So that's why we haven't actually done anything about it yet. but we certainly will do. It's just a question of when. Okay, because we do recognise it as a problem, but that's why. So a simple solution first is what we're actually aiming for.
Just hearing you say that and just asking for feedback from everyone else, I know that was something I quite liked the look of, John. Is everyone in agreement with what's kind of being saying, that would be really helpful in your life story book, that to be able to do that? Just put hands up if you think so. It helps the developers know it's a, yeah, everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I know it might not be there, but it's something, as you say, James, is certainly well worth doing.
Yes, definitely think it's important. We have discussed it quite a bit in the office. Yeah.
So Greg, sorry, I'm going back up. If anyone wants to not put it in the chat and has a question, but doesn't want to interrupt, I know you can use the icons down the bottom that has a little hand that comes up, or if I'm honest, I just use the old-fashioned put your hand up, and I am paying attention, I promise. So Greg, I know I think I missed one of yours. So you've asked whether a different colour for each chapter 2 to differentiate might be good. So potentially there's different ways of doing that. What do other people think with Greg asking that? Because I guess there was writing chapter, putting an image on and changing colours. So that's. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Chris. Brian was just about to answer, if that's okay. You're on mute, Brian.
Not used to this screen. One thing to be careful of with colour changes is readability. Yeah. Putting a blue text on a black background don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feeds back into the sort of general thing about accessibility. I think, ironically, Bruce's first wireframes actually did use different colours for the chapters, so it's kind of going back to that. But you're quite right. We need to pay attention to contrast, and then also as people add effectively infinite chapters, how do we assign colours to those? All of those things need to be worked out. So I think it's a reasonable idea. We just need to sort of discuss how we best do that internally. But again, if it won't be one of those things that we're making chapters explicit and we're putting images and that kind of thing, it gives scope for because we need to take into account not just readability, which is basic accessibility in terms of contrast, but also ideally you've got people with colour blindness, for instance, who still need to be able to somehow identify between all the different greys that they see. But I think that's a reasonable ask, I think. But then just how does it cycle back round again? Do we keep a number of colours and then cycle back round, or then we get to the point where we let people choose the colours, but then it becomes more complex again? So yeah, but we'll take that under advisement.
But I think it's a really valid point, isn't it, Chris, that perhaps one of the things, and it may be helpful then just to say, is that there are things that we think might be helpful in the life story book, but potentially would stop other people from being able to use it because it necessarily, as Brian was saying, you might not be able to read it. So you're considering that all the time in terms of how you're doing it, and then how you can personalise it. What personalisation you can do if people would like that option. Please stop. It's only because she wants to go outside. So trying to weigh that up all the time, and I think there was some feedback on that potentially that could get a bit confusing as well, Greg. So you're right. It's trying to think through what changes you can do to that. So Chris, if I've heard you right, you are thinking about the chapter, you are thinking about people being able to put an image in, and then the final bit is you'll be considering the colour contrast and the fonts and everything, so that going back to Sarah's point of that it's accessible as much to that it hits all those accessibility standards for everyone to be able to use it, and then personalisation perhaps of colours.
Yeah. I mean, I think that personalisation of colours is definitely something that would be further down the line. I think it's because it makes it much more difficult, and of course, people can then personalise it in a way that then isn't accessible. But as long as they're seeing it, that's fine. But I mean, yes, we are looking at accessibility, especially in terms of contrast. There is an actual formula for determining contrast, which sometimes gives some really weird results. Actually, colours you think wouldn't have enough contrast do, and then colours you think wouldn't or don't. But there is actually a mathematical formula for it, and we actually have a bunch of tools that we use to try and ensure we have enough colour contrast.
Did that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Greg, thank you for these great questions. So can you change place of birth, as users may not have been born in Worcester but have lots of memories from their life in Worcester, or obviously living in Worcester? I live in Worcester, but I was born in Bromsgrove. Just a little fact about me.
That's on Facebook now, you know.
Sorry?
That's on Facebook now, you know. We'll steal your identity.
Sorry,
I can hop in with that one. Yeah, absolutely. The text in the demo where it does say place of birth Worcester, I think that is a hard coded in there placeholder, which was part of setting up the demo with some of the placeholder content. So that's part of a slightly wider conversation around what information the Life Stories book should hold about you, and whether people would feel that giving away too much information would make them uneasy, or being able to have a thorough list of information would help care customize their care, or allow carers to access that information. So it's part of a wider conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think it's part of that. This is me type thing, isn't it? The profile page, that's where the information goes. As he says, hard code at the moment will get editable.
Yeah, I mean, part of the ongoing discussions we've had here is, rather than the system have set fields for the data it wants to capture, is that to start your book actually with a page or a chapter about yourself, where you can actually say, this is where I was born, this is where I was from. So put the actual content into the book, rather than have to maintain a separate area that's actually about you. Just actually begin the book about you and where you're from. And of course, you might not want to say, where you're originally from, and then you've just got loads of blank fields hidden in a part of the system that you don't normally go into. So our view has been, really, it's just the book is there. You can put anything you like in it, really, any text you like. So if you want an area about you, you create a page about you, and create a page about where you were born. So that's one solution anyway. The other thing is, there's been no kind of agreement on what the kind of minimal information we should capture on people, but all we actually are capturing is what you've registered with. So the system has enough to actually authenticate you, and then after that, it's you just start putting whatever you like into your book.
Sorry, Paul, did you have a question there? No. So no, you're not going off mute. Forgive me, everyone. I don't know if you're having the same thing. I know my screen, everyone keeps moving, so it keeps flickering. So sorry if I miss you. Sorry, James. Can I just make sure I've understood that right? We're going to have the equivalent of, and Sarah, with you being here, you may. I was thinking about your conversation with Sue. That chapter may look slightly different. So we were saying about basing it on the This Is Me from the Alzheimer's Society that may be helpful within older people services. Were you saying you are having that chapter, but potentially people don't have to have it, and no longer having that account section bit as you kind of go to log out? Sorry, I slightly misunderstood myself there.
The account will still will still be there. That account section, it's fairly key to holding some of the other information around some of the other account details. But I think the addition of an introductory or information chapter or page, which would have some kind of personalized fields as you need it to be, because we can't too rigidly set out our store to have predetermined fields, because the usage of the book could be so varied. It almost needs to be as freeform as the audiences that are going to use it.
Yeah, but there will be a chapter that captures that information, so there will be either a help button that's kind of central in terms of, and will be in terms of what Sarah needs about someone having that opportunity to write that in, and perhaps prompts behind that, because they may not be aware of it. Otherwise you're introducing another, people are going to have to seek that information out. So you're taking, am I making sense as I describe this to everybody? So if you're somebody perhaps living with dementia, you want a space where you've got the prompts. Naomi, you're nodding as I say that, so don't feel that you have to respond to that as I just comment on that. But there needs to be within that something that enables people to have those prompts ready for them.
Yeah. So again, as we've said before, based on sort of, certainly for this one, sort of the Alzheimer's kind of society, this is me thing, which is, it's things like, what's my favourite drink, that sort of thing, things that are there for the helping carers to know their patients' wishes, and to, for instance, not give them toast with Marmite on if they hate Marmite, that kind of thing.
But that's really important. By the way, if my identity goes missing, Chris, and I suddenly find myself hit with a massive bill, can we just say that we know it's Chris has just said about stealing my identity?
Well, you've got some big limits in your credit cards here, Natasha.
Anyway, I walked into that one, didn't I? The bit that I've lost it there. No, I'm a Marmite lover, but those sorts of things are really important, and I've always said that in terms of tea. I couldn't drink a milky tea, and that's something that's really important about me, that I like people to know. They do know also where I work. It's always in a proper cup. Just saying. Does anyone else have any other questions that would be sort of that you're thinking about, or for your sort of particular areas? I saw Gemma might be off now, actually. Gemma from the Acute Trust, where they were thinking in terms of for the hospital. Well, I can't see her. So just in terms of people coming from the, is it hitting what you need it to? Because we're now at that kind of final workshop. Sorry, Brian, were you going to say something? No. The final workshop where, as James and Mark and Reese were saying, they're now at the kind of making sure that you've got the time to make sure that that for go live it hits everything that you need. When you see the book, is there anything that you're thinking this is missing, or I was expecting this, or anything that would be really important to kind of share right now? Or that it was brilliant and a massive pat on the back, which we also do. So generally sort of nods and agreements for that. There is, yeah. Can people just do a big thumbs up if actually it is covering everything that you were hoping to see today in terms of what it should look like? Well, I don't know how that feels then, James, Mark and Reese, for the ones doing the bulk of the work. But I think that's just saying that yes, it really is hitting everything that it needs to. So I guess just in terms of the time that we've got left, would it be possible, Reese, I think this might be to you, you were saying about the kind of sharing element. that you've not got anything to show, but maybe just to talk to that and next steps in terms of what's going to happen. Or James and Mark, forgive me.
Absolutely, yeah. So the sharing is a very exciting part of it. It's had its complications, but it's a very exciting part where the flow or the user journey would be around inviting someone to collaborate on a book or sharing your own book via email. So and by activating sharing by clicking on share my book, it triggers an email to be sent to a specified email address. If that user isn't a current Worcester Life Stories author, then they get invited onto the platform. And then I think there's 3 levels of ownership or access. So that the book originator, which remains the organizer. I think there was editor or kind of author who can contribute towards it but isn't the owner, and then there's the reader. So there's just ability to access the book and read the book but not edit it. So I think there's 3. There might be one that I'm missing. First one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Reese. Yeah, there's 3. So when you first register, you get a book created for you based on that basic template that we have, which of course we're happy to add more chapters in, more pages if you want into that template. Eventually, you'll be able to edit that yourself. But it creates a book for you, but you can create multiple books yourself. And then on any of those books, when you actually select one of your books, you can offer to share it. Just type in the email address of the person you want to share it with. And then what the system does is it then checks that email address. And if they're an existing user of Worcester Life Stories, it shares the book with them and gives them access to the book. And if they're not an existing user, it sends out an email to invite them. And then when they register, they're given access to your book. Okay, and you can control, there's 3 levels of access, as Reece says. So there's a reader, which would be the default one. So these people can log into Worcester Life Stories and read your book, but they can't actually change anything. There's an editor. So if you grant edit access, they can log into Worcester Life Stories, read your book and edit the pages. And then there's the manage level of access, which means that they can completely control the book. And what that means is that they can take ownership of the book as well. So those are the 3 levels of access. And then at any point you can decide, you can change that level of access or revoke the share. So you can actually take someone's access away if you change your mind. And there'll be a separate area against each book. There's going to be a separate button, which Mark is actually working on the GUI and I'm doing the work in the API. There's a separate button that when you go into a book and you say share it, and it'll list all the people you've shared the book with, and you can invite more people to it. But that's where we are with the sharing. And as Reece said, it's a challenging part of the system, let's be honest. But we pretty much cracked it now, I think.
And when you say share the book, James, is that it will only come sort of as the book or also as the slideshow?
No, so you share the book. So it means that when when that person logs into Worcester Life Stories, they can see your book as well as their own books. Yeah, and then they can edit it as if they were you, obviously, but any changes they make are by them. I mean, if you wanted to send someone the book outside of Worcester Life Stories, you would just export it to PDF and email it to them.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yes, I'm just trying to think through.
Yeah.
The difference between exporting and sharing, at least in our language.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that, because that helps. Yeah, for my understanding.
If you can export the PDF and then you can give the book to whoever you like, but if you want people to collaborate with you on the book, then you can actually share it with them explicitly, yeah, and then take that access away if you want to.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously once you've exported it, you've given it, and that's it. It's gone, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's in the lap of the gods there, and it can go anywhere.
And the slideshow sort of element, that's just in the export, isn't it? Because that's just then.
Yes, that's right. That's what we are looking at, trying to get that sorted. It is on the list. Whether or not that will be done by the 31st, I don't know. 31st of March and then go live. It will certainly be a feature that is in the specification. It's not in the specification as a must, as a highest priority, which is what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the must levels. But we've got the export to PDF working, but the slideshow is something that we still need to crack and get that working properly.
And I guess the feedback from the last workshop was, as we start to come to the end, I've seen your question there as well, Jennifer, is potentially from some of the care homes, they were saying that they might not want to share all of their slideshow. They'd want to share particular chapters, so it would.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, you might want to share, I don't know, my wedding and where I worked, but you might not want to share the About Me chapter.
Yeah. So I think we're talking about two separate things, because the share.
Sorry, export.
Yeah. Export.
Yeah. Sorry, forgive me for the language.
No, it's fine. No, it's just so we're clear and we know what we're actually talking about. Right now, the export, it will export all of your book, but I don't think there's a problem at all. I mean, technically, it's certainly doable to actually, when you do an export, to be presented with a list of chapters and then just tick the ones you want to export.
Yeah, I think that's a should in the spec rather than a must at this stage.
Yeah, that's a should in the spec. So we're certainly trying to get all the exports working. Whether or not we can get the selected chapters working, I think that will be. It's certainly technically doable. It's whether or not we can do it in the time we have. I think that would be a challenge to get it done in the time we have. But like I say, development is going to continue, so it may well be in there by the 23rd of April.
Yeah, no, that would be great, because that was something that had come out of the workshops, hadn't it, in terms of what they'd wanted. Just because we're at 3 minutes to, and not to carry on because you've answered that, Jennifer's quick question is, if they are invited to have access, will this bypass the need for a registration code, i.e. they don't have to be in Worcestershire, or have I misunderstood the GP bit?
Right, at the moment, if you, when I say at the moment, in phase 2, as it stands right now, you would still need to have the code to actually register, because that is actually required so that the user, when they're registered, can be assigned, effectively recorded as a member of the Life Stories against Worcester. So that code is required. Are we saying that if you're invited, you'd like it, the code is not mandatory?
I guess that's something, actually, thanks Jennifer for raising that, is the bit with family. Quite often your family member may not live in Worcestershire and Herefordshire. They may not therefore be developing their own book, but it is essential that they are able to contribute to somebody's book within here. So we could come back to that one, Jennifer, and then maybe email everybody to let them know the answer of that. I'm only mindful of time if that's not able to be answered now.
Well, the template for the email, am I on mute now? So the template for the email is actually, it's a big blob of text with placeholders in, that the system will replace those placeholders with, you know, the person's email address or a link back to the site. So there's nothing. We would be expecting yourselves to actually give us what content you want for those emails, and you could put the code for the registration into the email content. So it actually says, "We're inviting you to Worcester Life Stories. Here is the code for you to register with."
Okay. Yeah, I think that one might. So, John,
interesting question.
You wanted to answer John's question, which was, if you export book to PDF, does it embed the video and pixel link?
Mark's been doing the export. Did you want to take over, Mark?
Yeah, no, I was just answering in the chat in case we ran out of time. So the export to PDF does embed the pictures of the book and gives you a link to be able to launch the YouTube video from it.
Does that answer that, John? Yeah. Did you have any thoughts on that, just as we start to wrap up? No. It's 4 o'clock and I need to pull it to a close. So Glenn, you've just said, and it's quite right, there may be something in terms of, and they mentioned it earlier, I think we should be looking to include expats, i.e. someone from Worcester who's now living in London. And I think some of that is about, sorry, I got slightly distracted by a really big, this is awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Sorry, Glenn, coming back to your bit was, certainly the hope for this platform is that actually it's going to be taken up by other trusts, and that there's a lot of interest that's kind of going on, and I think those, that doesn't really answer your question, but it's really thinking about how do we meet the wider need that we might not be able to do within the scope of this platform, but there is talk about how the platform goes wider and other trusts are interested. Does that make sense? Yes, and then can I just end on 1 minute past 4? Thank you to Sarah for that. That's the best way to end, really. That just goes, this is awesome. So that's what we think. Hopefully everyone else on here does feel the same. If you weren't able or didn't want to, it's not quite right, and you've got some thoughts, do drop it on worcesterlifestories@gmail.com. We will pass that over to James, Mark, Chris and Reese. They are listening, believe me, to everything that you say and trying to work on it. And then can I just end on a massive thank you to everyone that's joined. Put in your diaries now, Friday, 23rd of April, 2 o'clock, where you're going to see the real thing of both platforms and Worcester.
And Tasha's PIN number.
Thanks for the yeah. You need to think, don't you? Because you have had a meta, what you share. But no, thank you everybody, and we will be showcasing Know Your Place Worcester, Life Stories platform. Life Stories Worcestershire, and just a chance to come together and fingers crossed something in the summer where we can have a nibble and a drink and chat in person, all roadmap allowing. Take care, everyone.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.